Morning.
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 How's it going?
How's it going?
Good morning.
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 How are y'all this
How are y'all
morning?
this morning?
Doing good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I think
I think
maybe turn your volume down. There's a lot of feedback. Or mute. Mute when you're not speaking. I think that would help a lot. Thank you. Let's see here. All right. Did y'all have a good weekend?
Oh yeah.
I sure did.
Nice.
How about you?
It was.
It
It was
was.
very full. Very nice.
Really enjoyed Saturday night.
I'm so glad. I did too.
Yeah, I had a mixed feeling because I was like, I enjoyed it so much and you guys were doing all the work and it was your celebration, but I have a feeling that you were okay with it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So yeah, the date was sort of inconsequential. I just had to pick one to release the song and decided why not do it then. I always look in terms of, whose birthday is the closest or if there's a significant day or date, but it didn't matter that it was my birthday. It was far more about the song and the experience, and I really enjoyed it.
It was really wonderful.
Thank you.
I wonder if everybody's out trying to enjoy the beautiful day.
It is so nice. I and it
It's
got
sunny
what's that?
It's sunny finally. You know,
Yes.
that rain.
It is so nice. I read something recently. I haven't looked at the research behind it or to see if there is any, although I believe it might. But anyway, I find it interesting and I need to research it. But someone was saying that actually getting morning sunlight determines how well you'll sleep that night. That something about going out and taking in the sunlight in the morning helps sleep, more than a lot of things and more than any other sunlight from any other part of the day. So
Cool.
I think that's
I have to give
interesting.
I have to give it a try.
I usually don't go out into the sun in the morning, so I might have to change that.
Me too.
After the event Saturday night, I had to stay over and I was on the Steve and Johnny show on WGN, which goes until 2 in the morning. And when they booked it, they said, "Hey, you just come. We'll just interview you 12 to 12:30. No, I'm sorry, 12:30 to 1:30." And I said, "Okay, I can be home close to 2." And anyway, they had some technical difficulties, and then they said, "Hey, would you mind hanging around? We'd really like to have you for the whole show, and then can we take pictures afterwards and this and that." So it was 3 before I got home, but I pretty much went straight to bed at that point. But it certainly has thrown off I had a nice rhythm and schedule going, and that upended it a little bit. Well, let's get started. I recently, for the first time in about 3 years, at least 2 years, but I think 3 maybe, went and had blood work done. I used to try to do it, January every year, just, check in and have a doctor's appointment, general practitioner appointment, and see how I'm doing and get blood work. That I think is a good indication of how we're doing. And I can't tell y'all how pleased I am with everything. One of the displays the Quest Labs do is a graph that shows, in this case, it showed 2018 to 2023. And I improved in every single area of what they, of all the tests, of all that they're gauging and looking at, I had improvement. And that's not by accident. When, I definitely over the last several years have changed certain eating habits. I have, with the exercise, there's been, I think, probably more consistency, definitely more intensity, and it's paying off. Diet, exercise, supplements, what I'm doing. And the thing is, I feel great, feel really, really good, but I really didn't know until I got the test done. So I went in there thinking, I'm doing well, feeling fantastic, most of the time. And but that is something to go on. Certainly how we feel, that's an indication. But I think tests are important. And I can take a class or a workshop and I can think, oh, I'm getting this material. I really am. It's resonating with me, and I'm putting it in, and I'm going to take it with me. And then the instructor can give an exam, a comprehensive exam at the end of the class or the end of the workshop. That's when I really see, what did I learn? What do I know from the class? So tests are important. And a lot of times we don't want to take tests. A lot of times we are apprehensive. A lot of times we're scared of the results. And I was curious, and I was, I don't know if I had any, I don't think I had any anxiety per se, but maybe I did. Maybe if I did, it was mild, but I was wanting to know, I was really curious to see how things were. And in my, at the doctor's appointment, my blood pressure was a little elevated. And I asked the doctor about that, and I said, that surprises me. And so I'm a little, and she was like, it's absolutely fine. And she said, what you really should do is just take it at home. And another nurse practitioner I spoke to said, hey, take it in the morning, take it in the afternoon, take it in the evening, chart it, just see. And that's what I want to talk to y'all today about is about taking tests, is about charting, it's about looking at what we're actually dealing with. Because we can think we're great, we can think everything's fine, but until we delve, until we lift the hood and knock around in the motor a little bit, kick the tires, we may not know exactly how things are. And so I'm encouraging us to take some tests. I heard it said that life gives us the tests first, and then the lessons come after that. And that may be true, although I think we can live in a certain way where we're always preparing so that when we receive one of life's tests, we will pass, or we will do better than we would otherwise. And so I think staying in a state of perpetual improvement, of knowing where we are and what's going on with us, I had someone tell me, I was telling them something about myself, and they said, wow, you really know yourself. And it was a minor thing. It was not, some big deep, it wasn't spiritual or mental or anything, but they said it in such a way that's like they were shocked. They were surprised. How would one know that about oneself? And I was thinking, how would one not? Why wouldn't we know as much about ourselves as we possibly can? And when I got these results, I immediately looked at them. I didn't wait to go back to the doctor. I didn't wait. As soon as I got the email, hey, your results are up, you can go look at them. I pulled them up. And you know what I did? I read them and examined them as best I could. But that only took me so far. And then I called my nephew and said, hey, he's a nurse practitioner, or about to be. I said, hey, would you mind going over my labs with me? I'd love to, get your insight. And I said, I have some questions. And he said, sure. So that night when he was off work, we sat down and I sent him the results, and he went over everything with me. And he was able to give me so much more insight, and he was able to answer my questions. So with us, with our spiritual growth, with our mental, psychological, to a lesser extent, physical, there's only so much we can do without added help. I want to do as much as I can, and I am attempting to do that. But notice that I couldn't order the lab work. I couldn't draw my own blood. I couldn't test it. And once all that was done, I could read the results only because they printed them up for me. But my insight and information that I could glean from it was limited. And I had to ask someone else to come in. And the person I asked to come in is, although in the healthcare profession, they were not meeting with me as a professional. They were meeting with me as a family member. The following Monday, the nurse from the doctor's office called and said, hey, here's your lab results. The doctor wanted you to know it looks great. This, and this. Hey, start taking a little more B12 and, this, that, and she'll see you at your next appointment, whatever. That was more information. That was good. When I had gone over the results earlier, I missed that I needed more B12. So all of it is information, and all of it is helpful. And I'm saying to me, this is what I'm trying to do. And I'm encouraging you that we need some of these activities, exams, feedback, mentally, psychologically, and spiritually. And there is a good bit we can do on our own, but it is limited. And then we need, I believe, trusted friends who are also spiritual seekers, who are also living a life of self-improvement and wanting to grow and evolve and expand and want to help others do that. And so they give us good feedback and help. But there's probably, and so you may have some of those people in your life. I hope you do. Then there's probably a support group of some kind. And there again, it would be amateur feedback, but it would be great. And if it's people in a support group, they are working on these things and they probably have a lot to offer. The other thing is, regardless of where they are and what they're doing, they have more to offer us than we can see. Now I'm asking all of you right now to look at the screen. Just take a minute and look at yourself in the screen. If you can see yourself in this Zoom, you and I can never see ourselves fully. We can see a flat, maybe two-dimensional picture or video, some kind of reflection in a mirror, but it's very limited what we can see. Others get to see more from their perspective, from their angle. They're seeing a 3D image of us. They're seeing us move and act and behave and our mannerisms, things that we'll never be able to see. So there's insight to be gleaned from us, especially going within, seeing what's there. They can't see that. Others can't see that, even professionals. But there's only so much we can do, and then we need to ask the help of others, and maybe perhaps professional others as well. In terms of what we do on our own, I think, as I will have said so many times, I'll say again, I think journaling is key. Having a written record of our reflections, of our insights, of life's tests and our responses. I have a printed out copy of these lab results that I can study, that I can look at. And think about this. I got to compare 2018 through 2023. I couldn't do that if it was not recorded, if it was not charted, if it was not written down. I think the same is true of our journaling. We can think and use our memory and reflect and look back, but that's valuable, and we need to do that. But that is only one way of doing it, and another, perhaps better, definitely different, and perhaps gives us more insight, is actually writing it down, keeping a spiritual journey, a journal, a daily journal of our journey through life. I also say we should be giving ourselves tests. Obviously, life is testing us, no question. But how do I know really how I'm doing and how things are really going if I don't examine and question? So I want to give you just some questions to start with. I'm going to start with sort of the mental health type questions, and they're pretty basic, and I've got other ones we can go far deeper. But the first one is, you ask yourself, how am I doing? I mean, and give an honest answer. How are you? And no, how are you really? Not, a surface answer, not a surface look, but how am I really doing? We should ask ourselves about our sleeping habits. And let's just say over the last 6 months, how have you been sleeping? What are your sleep patterns? And have you noticed any changes? Not because you were on a radio show in the middle of the night, but without something dictating a change, a job, an interview, or whatever. How's your sleep? How would you describe your appetite over the last 6 months? Have your eating habits changed in any way? Has your appetite changed? Could you tell me about any times over the past few months that you've been bothered by low feeling, stress, or sadness? Now, if someone asked you that, how nice would it be for you to open up your journal and take a look back over the last 6 months and see the times in which you recorded feeling low, feeling sad, feeling depressed, feeling anxious, and looking at your journal to see, well, what was happening? How much of it was circumstantial? How much of it was chemical and random and out of the blue? How often during the past 6 months, and I'm just using 6 months, you could say 6 weeks, you could say 6 years, but I don't think 6 years is probably too long. But how often during the last 6 months have you felt as though your moods or your life were under your control or out of your control? How often have you been bothered by not being able to stop worrying? How much of your life is spent worrying, anxious? How confident are you in the way you feel, in yourself, in your abilities to deal with whatever comes up, with what life throws at you? And then how satisfied have you been feeling with your life? Again, just over the last 6 months or year, how satisfied have you been? How often over these past weeks or months have you felt that your future was bleak? Let's say yours or humanity's or the Earth's. You think is bleak. Can you tell me about your hopes and dreams for the future? What feelings have you had recently about working toward goals and dreams and visions? Describe for me, and I'm asking you to describe for yourself, how supported you feel by others, friends, family, professionals. How have you been feeling about your relationships? All of your relationships. What's happening with them? Tell me about any important activities or projects that you have been involved in recently. How much enjoyment and fulfillment did you get from those? How frequently have you been doing things that mean something important to your life? I think those are good questions, and they're basic, and each one of them can go a lot deeper, but they're a good starting point. And in our journaling and in our reflecting, in our attempt to grow mentally, spiritually, psychologically, socially, are we pausing to ask ourselves these type questions? I'm encouraging us to. I'm also encouraging us to talk to others about these, and maybe even a professional. So let's move to the spiritual side. Spiritual test quiz. By the way, mental health, psychological, spiritual, there are many online tests that you can take, and they will give you the results. That might be a good starting point. Now, I would think that the quality of those tests vary greatly, so we have to be careful and look closely. But if it's something that, an established, if it's a test that Psychology Today is putting out, you're probably pretty safe. If it's a certain spiritual teacher you admire or appreciate, or a group, then it's probably trustworthy. But taking an online test is I think a good idea for these things. How well defined would you say your faith or belief or spirituality is? Do you have a sense of a spiritual life? Do you regularly, consistently commune with a higher power or spend time in meditation, contemplation? How often do you feel hopeless or alone? Do you have a clear sense of how you contribute to your family, your friends, society, the world? Do you feel like you are contributing? There's going to be overlap in the spiritual and mental health, obviously, because the next one is, do you have a strong and supportive network of friends and family and mentors? Over the course of your life, have you reached different religious beliefs and explored different paths to find one that speaks to you more clearly, more accurately, more concisely to how you find the world to be? Can you separate your spirituality from your religion, your spiritual practices from your religious practices? Do you feel like you have a distinct sense of purpose or meaning in life? Do you feel in harmony with the world around you? Do you feel at peace? In looking at your life, what percentage is peaceful? What percentage is anxious, in conflict or worry? Do you fit in on a daily basis? Prayer, meditation, solitude, silence, quiet, some kind of spiritual practice, journaling, reading, spiritual reading, relaxation, play, laughter, time connected with nature, communing with the natural world? Do you find yourself readily accepting others, accepting them where they are, how they are in their journey? Or do you find yourself judging and condemning and being critical of them, even if it's just inside, even if it's not, you never say it out loud, not something you ever share with anyone? Related to that, if there is that critical voice, then I bet you, I think it's a pretty safe bet, that you'll be receiving that criticism first and foremost. It's worth looking at. Do your true, honest, authentic core values inform and guide your decisions, your actions, and your behaviors? And then lastly, related to where I started, are you charting these things? Are you charting your activities? Are you keeping a journal? Are you writing things down? Are you sharing with trusted others to explore these things? Or are you just hoping that you'll remember, that you'll won't lose it all because you didn't write it down or get feedback from others? So what I am doing, let me rephrase that. What I am attempting to do is take this experience of having labs done and getting the feedback and looking at it, and I should also say, making adjustments. Because you know what I've done since I got these back? I'm continuing to do all the things I've been doing that has seemed to pay off. But I've also added some things. I'm taking B12 every day now, and looking at levels of other things that if I was on the borderline of D3, then I'm making sure, magnesium, whatever it happens to be. And I'm saying I'm attempting to do that spiritually and mentally. We live in an age where even with our medical issues and our physical health, that there's a lot we can do on our own. We have access to information, sometimes too much information. We get in trouble looking at WebMD and different things. But There's a lot of good information out there, and that also means there's a lot of bad information out there, but we have access to it, and we can do evaluations on ourselves, and we can look and see what certain test results, lab work means. I think we can do that spiritually, and I think we can do that mentally. And I believe that that should be the starting point. We do what we can, then we reach out to trusted others, family, friends, people that are on a journey, that are open and accessible and compassionate and knowledgeable and can give us feedback. And perhaps, I'm not saying we need to get that from a ton of people, but if we get it from a few, from a group, we're likely to get a better, more well-rounded feedback. I know that there are certain family member and friends that when I share with them what I'm working on, they will tell me that I am great and fantastic, and they don't see any need for me to be working on that. I'm about as good as you can get. There's that spiritual, mental blood work that came back, man, you're great. And I've got a lot of that over life, so I am so grateful for that as a foundation. But as I've grown, I've seen that no matter where we are in anything, there's room for improvement. We can always get better. And there's certain hidden issues, most of them related to childhood and experiences, that we need others to help us see more clearly and in order to deal with. And most of them are going to come up in relationship. We have, not all of us do, unfortunately, but we have parental relationships, perhaps relationships with siblings, significant others, or romantic, spouse, friends. And we have some friends that we've known a lifetime. We have some friends that are more recent. They all have something to contribute. They can all help us see more clearly. So that's what I'm attempting to do. Saying that about the certain family members that I have, that they're always on your side, and they're gonna build you up and support you. Last night, Autumn was here, and I gave her a piece of my birthday cookie on a napkin at the table. And I was, she always, when she's eating, stuff goes everywhere, mostly on the floor, or on her and the floor. And I said, if you will lean over and eat over the napkin, I said, if you get every crumb to land on that napkin, you will be awesome. And she said, even if I spill it everywhere, I'll still be awesome. And I was like, okay, this girl she's headed in the right direction. And I was so happy to hear her say that. But as awesome as I think I am, or others might tell me I am, I need the voices of still others that will see more clearly and say, hey, I love you. I appreciate you. And hey, yeah, I may agree that you're pretty good also, but what about this, and this? What about what about examining these issues? What about growing? What about improving? What about being a better iteration of yourself than you were in 2018, in 2020, yesterday, whatever it is? So I was so happy to see the good positive results in my activities for my health that the labs showed, but I want that same thing in my spiritual, mental, psychological health. And I can tell you that I have seen that. I've looked at some things very closely and intensely lately, and done some comparisons. And I think we have to be very careful with comparisons. But what I'm talking about is not comparing to other people, comparing to me at certain ages, me in similar situations over a span of 10 or 20 years or 5 years or whatever it is, and seeing growth But I will tell you this, in every single one of them, I also saw room for more growth, for more improvement. And that's what I'm encouraging us. I am wanting to be ever growing and evolving. And I know from experience that there's going to be times where we grow more than others. There's going to be intensities of opportunities even. But I want to continually be growing. It's easy when crises happen. It's easy to turn to more mental health issues or spiritual issues or, but I want to, when things are seem like they couldn't be better, I want to know that they can be, and I want to be striving to grow and evolve even then. Comments, reactions, thoughts, questions, jump in.
Michael, I just read a big study last night and said diet and exercise is not the most important thing in a healthy life. And this big, huge study was happiness affects your health more than diet and exercise. And I wondered if people in Finland live longer because they're just the most happy in the world.
I do think that indicates the truism that it's all connected. If I have a physical issue, it's going to be mental and spiritual as well. And if I have a spiritual or a mental issue, they're going to be mental, physical, spiritual. It's we are integrated beings, and we try to separate things out and look and focus on something, and maybe that's possible, but it's all interconnected. I think happiness is a key to longevity. And even if it's not, we should do things to be happy for whatever life we get. Vanessa, did you have something to say?
Oh, I was going to say that when you were talking about comparison, I do both. I journal and in a handwritten journal. That's not daily, but in my app with my meditation that I use, it's really interesting. It uses the face. I don't know if you've ever seen that, how you're feeling today. Well, it has a certain number of faces, and you press how your mood, and then you can journal after a meditation. And so I was thinking that that's really kind of cool because it's a really quick comparison of, I can look in a line because it'll put it up there, all the journal entries, and I can see my faces.
Nice.
So it's a real quick comparison. Like if some of these questions said sadness, anxiety, those are some of the faces, and you can get a real quick picture of something that you might not see, just going along. So anyway, that's been a way technology has kind of been helpful. So I guess I just threw that out there, but I actually do like journaling my own handwriting as well, but I do both. So there you go. And that's all I could think of. Great topic.
Yeah, I was thinking that you're talking about the same thing. You're charting, you're journaling, you're using technology to do it, or an old school journal, or both. I mean, it's still the same process. Thank y'all for being here. I hope y'all have a great week. I hope we can all reflect more, take some tests, and take the tests life's given us and examine our results and do better, be better, and continue to grow and be compassionate with ourselves as we do. Y'all have a great week.
Have a great week. Bye.
You too.
Thank
Everybody
you.
take care.
Bye-bye.